The RPG is one of my favourite game genres. I love getting lost in forests or traversing deserts, exploring dark dungeons and ancient temples, levelling up and fighting bosses. But with all that said, one of the highlights of these games has always been the towns and villages you visit during your adventure. Little safe places along the way where you can stock up on supplies, upgrade your gear, chat to NPCs, and maybe most importantly of all, visit the local inn for a good night's sleep and then save your game. It's for this reason I'm going to rank every town and village in all of my favourite RPGs, starting with a couple of SNES classics, Secret of Mana and Secret of Evermore. For the purpose of this list, a town or village must be inhabited by non-hostile NPCs for at least some part of the game, and although fights can take place, no hostiles should permanently be inside the town. Abandoned or ruined towns will not count if they are only inhabited before the story of the game takes place, although I may consider including towns in playable flashbacks. Towns don't necessarily need to have shops, inns, or even buildings to qualify, although they will probably not rank as high for not having had these things. I will also be considering the town location, i.e. what it's like directly outside the town when ranking these. So with all these rules I will undoubtedly break almost immediately. Here is part 1 of the Green Ambler Games RPG Town and Village tier list, starting with Secret of Mana. I love this game. I had a NES but was pretty much the perfect age for the SNES era. Secret of Mana is definitely a bit less polished than A Link to the Past and doesn't have the amazing story of Chrono Trigger, but Secret of Mana has a certain feel-good vibe. And although it's something I know isn't universally liked, I really enjoy the combat system. Plus I love the way any of the 3 characters can use any of the 8 weapons. But if there's one thing that makes Secret of Mana stand out, it's its multiplayer feature. Whereas A Link to the Past was a journey undertaken alone, in Secret of Mana you could bring along friends or family. Anyway, as you can tell, despite its flaws, I have a lot of nostalgia for this game, which will undoubtedly affect the ranking of some of these towns, but anyway, here we go, starting with the first village of the game. Potos Village. I love the area that surrounds this village, and the village itself is very nice. All the towns and villages from this big starting area of Secret of Mana share the same aesthetic, and I think they all look great. It's only small, but it's got a little shop, an inn, and a fair few NPCs to talk to. Being the starting village, it's pretty important to the story, plus it's the village where the orphaned hero lives. Now for a couple of negatives though. Firstly, it has an annoying boss fight, which somehow gets on my nerves, even though you keep getting resurrected and can't even lose. I mean, you spend most of the time knocked out, unconscious, but you can still take damage. Very frustrating. My main negative though, is that you only spend about 10 minutes here. They kick you out due to a prophecy saying the village will be destroyed because you removed the mana sword from its stone. The fact that you can never return here really hurts its ranking, but the sad music as they kick you out is pretty good. And even though the NPCs all turn on you, I still can't bring myself to give the village that kicks off the story of one of my favourite games anything less than a C. Pandora. This is most likely the second town you will encounter. It has the same style as the other 2 villages in the game's large starting area, those being Potos and Kipu village. Pandora is the biggest of all 3 and I think it looks fantastic. It's got little rivers with bridges running between the houses and these beautiful little islands with trees on them. It has all the amenities, shops, inns and plenty of NPCs. When you first reach this town, the NPCs won't talk to you because they're under some spell from the creepy temple down the road. Further into the game however, you come back here and clear the temple, freeing the townsfolk who are all grateful except for this one woman who still won't talk to you. As it turns out, she's just really rude. In spite of her, I still absolutely love this village. It's got significance to the story, it looks great, I like the surrounding area and would totally live here. Undoubtedly an S tier from me. Dwarf Village. Okay, let's start with the good. The area outside the cave, Gaia's Navel, is really nice, with a rocky feel, lovely waterfalls and pools. Inside though, I find the cave aesthetic to be a bit dull to be honest. You meet the sprite character here, but the bit where you meet her isn't exactly my favourite part of the game. This is the place where you meet Watts the blacksmith or upgrade your weapons, but he doesn't stay here and follows you to towns and villages throughout your game. If I'm honest, I find the music in this place isn't the best, but my least favourite part is a very annoying boss fight. It can be tough, but I just hate the way most of the time you can't hit him, and when he does get in range, he can knock you down for ages. It's just a pain. To top it all off, after you complete the main objectives here, most of the NPCs seem to disappear, leaving the place feel half empty. Could be worse, but I'm not keen. It's going into E tier. Kipu Village. I really like this village. It's similar to Pandora, but smaller, with only 4 buildings. Another beautiful looking village with a nice river running down the middle. Some of the buildings have these little water wheel things. I don't think you ever have to come here, so there's no real story relevance, although it is the hometown of one of the story's NPCs you're trying to rescue. It's super cosy though, the sort of place I'd love to retire to. It's going in A tier. Moogle Village. The sprite has to translate what the Moogles are saying, and when you first meet them outside the village, they say their village has been overrun by monsters. Naturally, you kick them out so the Moogles can go home. The problem is there's nothing really in Moogle Village. Not even any buildings, and after you do the quest to save their village from mole bears, you can't even talk to them. What's the blacksmith and travelling rip-off merchant Nico are here, but that's about it. That being said, it still looks pleasant and I love the surrounding area with its 4-season forest section. I mean, the whole upper land is cool, basically just one big forest. So for that reason alone, it's going to just barely get into D tier. Matango, aka the Mushroom Village. This one might actually be more of a castle, but it's going on the list anyway. It's a pretty unique place, and unlike any of the other towns' villages in the game, it's inhabited by a friendly variety of the mushroom monsters seen elsewhere. Outside you get this cool mushroom forest section which has some NPCs, and there are more inside the castle itself. The beds in the inn are made of straw, which doesn't look too comfortable, but the mushrooms are friendly, plus you can walk behind the counter of the inn using this hidden path, which is cool. Also, the king mushroom has a moustache. Easily B tier. Kakara. I really like a good desert town, and though I quite like the look and feel of this place, it's let down by the fact that it only has 3 buildings and you can only go inside one of them, the inn. There are more NPCs wandering around outside to talk to, but it's basically just a town you pass through to head out into the desert. Later in the game you can do an optional quest by bringing an item here that returns the water to their parched little pond in the village, which is nice, and you get a fairly pointless Moogle belt item for doing it. Also, everybody here is always dancing. As I said, I like a good desert town. Unfortunately, this is only a mediocre one. It's going in C. Todo. In my opinion, this suffers from the same problem as the desert town. I love wintry towns, so it should be right up there, but it's just missing something. Don't get me wrong, the look isn't bad, but it's not as nice as the surrounding icy crystal forest outside the town. Actually, there are some other similarities with Kakara. They both come at the same point in the game, and you can do them in either order. Also, if I remember correctly, their shops both sell the same armour and weapons. The buildings are also the same, just reskinned. I presume they were made for the snow village, and then the snow on top was recoloured to make it look like sand in the desert. The music's not my favourite either. The upbeat tune doesn't really suit the ice environment, especially when the music outside the town is one of my favourite tracks in the game. The walrus people who inhabit the town are unique, but don't really have any story or purpose. I do like the way you can walk on this patch of ice for some reason. Okay, but not amazing. C tier. Tropics. This place appears to be a temperate town like Potos and the other starting villages, but it's being used as some holiday resort right in the middle of a giant frozen forest area. It starts off warm, but after you help to free Salamander, the elemental spirit being used against its will to heat the town, everybody leaves. The town then changes to a snowy climate, which I really like the look of, but it's deserted, so not really a town anymore. It looks great and the surrounding area is also great, but it's only inhabited for around 10 minutes, so as much as it pains me, it's got to go into E tier. Southtown. Southtown changes the style up a bit. Compared to the places seen so far, it looks a bit more modern and a bit less fantastical. As a kid, I wasn't too keen, but I must admit the look of these towns has grown on me. In fact, Southtown looks positively pleasant with its fountains and park-looking areas. It's pretty small though, with only 2 buildings, and I think it's really let down by the fact that there isn't much outside of the town. You fly in on Flammy or cannon travel, and the only exit leads to a secret sewer passageway to Northtown. Not bad, but not much to do. I'd say a high D tier. Northtown. Much like Southtown, with its more contemporary style, only bigger and better. It's got 8 buildings, although you can only go in 5 of them. The one to the north is a big multi-floor building with lots of NPCs. This place also has some relevance to the story. For some negatives, it is in enemy territory and next door to another creepy temple like the one at Pandora, so it loses some cosy points for that. Another thing is you can walk through the trees in the south of the town. When I was young, I was convinced that this was some kind of secret. I would keep walking back and forth mashing buttons, trying to find something. One day I did it and a dialogue box popped up. It took me a few seconds to realise it was just an NPC that had wandered in randomly. I was most disappointed. Anyway, pretty nice town, B tier. Gold City. This place is on an island that can only be reached by air. It's not really a city, it's just like North or South Town and its size sits somewhere between the two. To differentiate it from these towns however, as the name would suggest, this place is made of gold. It looks pretty nice with the yellow colour giving it a unique warm feel, as if the sun is always setting here. Unfortunately, there is not really much to do here. It mainly serves as an entrance to the Light Palace. You can't go outside the town to explore the island, which is a shame. No surprise is that in here is massively overpriced, and I doubt a bed made from gold would be all that comfortable. The people here are using mana to turn things into gold and are, somewhat unsurprisingly, greedy and materialistic. The inn, which is, for some reason, where the king lives, is filled with gold diggers and sycophants, and King Mammon himself seems like a bit of an idiot. Very pretty, but also pretty shallow. D tier. Mandala. This is a nice little village tucked away in the mountains. Like many of the more late game towns, it's only accessible by air. It has the same aesthetic as Pandora and Kippo, a small village with a nice river running through it. It has quite a few villages but not many buildings, including a strange house with no entrance, which I think is the only building of this style in the game that has no door. To the north it has a strange temple with orbs that seem to have recordings of things past. Some of the dialogue when you click on them is a little weird. I do love the lofty mountains area to the south as well. It's going to get a B. Turtle Shell Isle. A small but nice island said to be on the back of a giant turtle, something which comes up in real world mythology and also makes an appearance in the sequel Trials of Mana. The island only has a few small huts and not really anything to do except this is where you obtain the Sea Hare's Tail for the desert town Fill the Oasis quest. The shop here sells nothing apart from the Sea Hare's Tail. I like this place and the idea behind it, but it's far too basic and has no surrounding area to explore, so it's getting put into E tier. Secret of Evermore. To be honest, I don't like Secret of Evermore nearly as much as Secret of Mana. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad game, but it has a few things that, personally, I feel really let it down. For a start, it's one of those set in the real world but travel to a fantasy world stories. I don't like that. The game is split into 4 main acts, each with a different historic or futuristic theme. Unlike Chrono Trigger, there is no actual time travel involved, just different areas of this strange world. Now I like the themes of Act 2 and 3, those being classical age and medieval themed respectively, but I don't like the first or last areas, those being prehistoric and a kind of 1960s American sci-fi. It also suffers from some difficult and very annoying boss fights, and oh my god, the mazes. Mazes could be fun, but most of them are just in really dull environments like caves or sewers. They're not all terrible though, I do quite like the one in the medieval dark forest. Other things I do like include the aforementioned historical themes of Act 2 and 3, as well as the steampunk elements of certain sections of the game, which I enjoyed, even though at the time the word steampunk would not have been in my vocabulary. I also like the magic or alchemy system, for which you must use ingredients that can be purchased or found hidden in the world. On the whole, I also think the towns are pretty fun. There aren't as many, but they are generally bigger with more going on in them than in Secret of Mana. So without further ado, let's take a look at them. Fire Eyes Village. This is your typical basic hut village in the middle of the jungle. Personally, I don't really love prehistoric villages much. I think Chrono Trigger was the only game to do prehistoric areas well. Having said that, this village does have some story relevance, being the only village in Act 1. You return here a few times throughout the game. Also, you can pick up some bonus secret armour if you win an early fight against some raptors, which is really hard, and I always just assumed you were supposed to lose in a scripted fight sort of way, as you'll be rescued if you do. I like the way the kids here have cool animal pets following them around, including a lizard and some kind of flying insect. Sadly, I really dislike the jungle area surrounding this place, and to be honest, I'm not really a fan of Secret of Evermore Act 1, so it's probably not going to do this place any favours. Not bad, but still D tier. Crustacea. This place comes right at the start of Act 2, which is my favourite act. It has a great historical classic age feel. This place is the smallest Secret of Evermore town, but it still has plenty going on. It's set on the coast with a beach, and most of the dwellings are caves on the side of a cliff. It also has a large boat in the centre, which acts as a lively pub with loads of tough looking pirate types inside. The music is good, with seagull and wave sounds adding to the atmosphere. There's not too much to do here, but I still really like it. B tier. Nobilia. A walled town situated on the other side of a large desert from Crustacea. It's got a really good Roman feel, which combined with the desert outside makes me think of parts of the Roman Empire in North Africa. Towns in Secret of Evermore are generally more grounded than Secret of Mana, with more muted colours, feeling more historic than fantasy at times. This place is really big, much bigger than any town in Secret of Mana, and along with Ivor Tower, probably the biggest in Secret of Evermore. The western side of the town is taken up by a huge market where you can trade goods around to make money and also get hold of certain charms which buff your character, although it can get a bit confusing and overwhelming. Unlike your normal RPG where you could just buy stuff with some currency, here the market stalls trade various goods for different quantities of other various goods. Inside one of the buildings there's an NPC hidden behind some crates, and if you find him he will teach you the Atlas alchemy. There is also a strange NPC in the market you can talk to who breaks the fourth wall by telling you you're in a video game if you keep talking to him. The eastern side of the town is a nice town square with a cool water feature. This place acts as a meeting place and a lot of story around Act 2 takes place here. To the north of the town there's an entrance to a Colosseum which looks great with its Roman style architecture. I also particularly like the guy feeding the birds. Atmosphere sounds are good, especially in the market, but the music is a bit lame. Still, this is my favourite place in Secret of Evermore. A tier. Ivor Tower and Ebon Keep. These are near mirror image medieval castle style towns separated by a giant dark forested ravine. The story here is that the Queen has moved the population from Ebon Keep in the east to Ivor Tower in the west, but is acting strange and, surprise surprise, she's an imposter. After defeating a particularly cool boss, everyone moves back to Ebon Keep, except for some merchants, which is a bit annoying as you can miss out on some items if you don't grab them at the right time. The main town section away from the market alleyways looks good, with nice looking European medieval style houses. I like the many secret rooms tucked around the backs of the houses. One annoying thing is that due to the layout of these towns, they can take ages to traverse, and the buildings look mostly the same, so you can end up spending a lot of time aimlessly running up and down looking for things. Another thing I like is the music is pretty cool, with a mysterious mystical vibe, although I actually think the music in the deserted version of the towns is even better. As they are so similar, I'm going to stick them in the list together, and they get a C. So there we have it, part 1 of my list. If you have any thoughts on my rankings so far, please leave them in the comments, and subscribe to see the next part. I've got some other SNES classics to add, as well as the Zelda games and some more recent stuff as well. Leave a like if you feel like it, and thanks for watching.